Assalamu alaikum. So you're probably wondering what is going on. I'll jump right into it. As a young female Muslim, I have always felt that there's a gap in knowledgeable people in Islam that I can actually relate to. If you want to learn more about Islam, where do you usually go? Maybe your local mosque? If there's a women's section, who do you learn from? It's usually a guy in a beard, wearing a long cloak, looking all serious and stern. Our religion, a lot of the time, is made to feel so serious and heavy and burdensome. And it's supposed to be the exact opposite. It's supposed to be light and easy and uplifting. The most common thing I hear from people from my generation is that they avoid going to the mosque and learning circles. Completely avoid. And it's not because they do not want to pray or learn, it's because it's a place of strong judgment. We as a community have put silent standards and expectations of how someone's faith should be displayed. Everyone is at different stages in their faiths and beliefs, and everyone displays their faith differently. And it doesn't matter what stage you are in, no matter what stage you are in, it's okay. I've always wanted to learn more about my religion, but access to do so has just been so limited. At university, I decided to join the Muslim Student Union Board, and when we started brainstorming ideas, I brought up, why don't we try to hold Tafsir discussions? Our university is one of the very few universities that actually has a sheikh on campus, and his sole responsibility is to help and advise students. So I went ahead and set up a meeting with him, and I went into the meeting with one goal in mind. I said I need to convince him to start holding tafsir discussions for us. His response was super positive, but he said, how about we have it be student run and have a student lead it? How about if that student is you? Me? I ended up leaving the meeting with resources and material to start prepping for the first tafsir session. I was so sure nobody was going to show up. I decided the only way to bring people was to actually serve chai. So we ended up holding the first tafsir and chai discussion. A handful of people showed up, probably for the chai. But it's now been 2 years later, and the number of people attending have increased. My notes are this thick, and people have started attending from outside the university. And they still came when there was no chai. And so I started to realize that there are a lot of young youth who are yearning to learn about their religion. They just do not have the access and resources to do so in a non-judgmental zone. And so that moment 2 years ago when that sheikh said, I believe you're capable of leading it, that moment was pivotal. It not only empowered me to go and do it, but made me realize that I don't need to sit around wishing and hoping that there was somebody to fill this gap that was more relatable to me and more accessible to me. I could go and try to do it myself. Islam is supposed to be meant for the everyday average person. You don't have to go through 10, 20 years of religious schooling and study with the top scholars to be able to practice your faith. And so here I am, the everyday average Muslim. I don't claim to be a sheikha or a scholar or any of that. I'm just someone learning about my faith and wanting to share it in hopes that it fills a gap for people who feel like they don't have someone relatable or accessible that they can learn from in a judge-free way. And guess what? These four walls over here, this is a judge-free zone. You can come, listen, learn, watch, and leave. And I and everybody else will not know who you are. So inshallah, with this channel, I'll be posting tafsir and then different topics based on interest, inshallah, and hopefully we can all learn together, inshallah. And so with the opening of the channel, I thought it would only be fitting if we start with the opening of the Quran, Surah AlFatiha. So let's listen to Surah AlFatiha and take a walk through each verse and its interpretation, inshallah. Bismillah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
So starting off with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Now sometimes when you go to pray in the mosque, you might hear the Imam reading Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim out loud, and sometimes you might not. There's a little bit of a debate whether this is considered the first ayah or not. Either way, we read it at the beginning because we are asked to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim before we read a surah. So either way, we are reciting it. The difference is whether we consider it to actually be a verse of the surah or not. And I won't go into more detail about it than that. Why is Bismillah so important? We are asked not only to say Bismillah at the beginning of each surah, but also at the beginning of every task we do. So when you wake up in the morning, it's good to say Bismillah. When you walk out to your home, it's good to say Bismillah to start your day. When you start your car in the morning, it's good to say Bismillah, and so on. Why is this important? What is the point of this habit? Now, if we are used to saying Bismillah before each task, we are always made aware of God. And so every task we take on, it puts things into perspective and allows us to remember to be righteous and to perform good deeds and to stray away from misdeeds. So imagine you get up in the morning, you get in your car, you start your car, and as you're driving off, you say Bismillah. You're aware of Allah, you're aware of being righteous, and so you decide to abide by the rules of the road. You decide to not speed, you decide to not cut off people in the street, to not drive angrily, and so on. So it is a way to put things into perspective and to try to keep us away from misdeeds.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
All praise is to Allah, Lord of the worlds. So we learn here that now all praise needs to go to God. So He is the giver of everything. He is the provider. He is the blesser. So He is the one that we should praise and be grateful to. Lord of the worlds, Rabb al-Alameen. Now Rabb is translated to Lord in English, but it's really much more than that. So Rabb is a word that consists of different meanings, all in one word. So that includes someone who has claim over something, someone who has authority over something, someone who provides care, someone who provides sustenance, the Lord, the Master. So all of these words are combined in this one small word, Rabb. Now, Al-Alameen is plural of worlds, plural of Alam. Now, in Arabic, we have plurals that are different. So we can have a plural called Jam' Qilla and Jam' Kathra. Jam' Qilla means plural of a few. Jam' Kathra means plural of many. Now in this case, عالمين is plural of a few, it's جمع قلة. The worlds in this context here, it's covering everything. It's covering all of us humans who have been created from generations and generations and generations. It's covering all the animals, all the creations, all the beings, everything that we see and we don't see. It covers it all. Now this is a lot, but Allah uses the plural of a few. What does this tell us? He is telling us here that no matter how many we are in numbers, in strength, in status, we are nothing, minuscule compared to His greatness.
الرحمن الرحيم.
Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. These two words come from the root word in Arabic rahma, which means mercy. So look now, we are being introduced to God, and the first characteristic we learn of is His mercy. He could have picked anything, His power, His might, His vengeance, but He picked mercy. This is above everything, and this is what He wants us to know about Him first of all. Now, Rahman is in صيغة مبالغة, exaggerated form. It is an all-encompassing mercy. So it is mercy that falls on both believers and disbelievers. So even if someone who lies and cheats and steals and does all kinds of bad deeds, if this person, for example, falls sick, Allah has some mercy on him and heals him. Now as for Rahim, this is a specific type of mercy, and this is only given to the believers. And we understand this from an ayah in the Quran that says, وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا. And so to the believers, He is Rahima. So this is a specific type of mercy just for the believers, a special type of mercy.
مالك يوم الدين.
The owner or master of Yawm al-Din, the day of Deen, which is the day of judgment. So He is telling us here that He is the owner of everything. Nowadays, maybe we own a car, we own a house, we own something. It's temporary. There will come a day where He owns absolutely everything and we own absolutely nothing. And this is the final day where everything will be just and everything will be set straight. So the person who was treated unjustly will find justice on that day, and the person who performed the unjust act will find justice on this day. And the wrongdoer, this is the day the wrongdoer will say, Ya laytani kuntu turaba. I wish if only I were dust, sand.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين.
And now we switch from glorification of Allah to action. You alone we worship and you alone we seek help from. So He's telling us now what to do. We should worship Him and He's the person we should turn to when we need something. So now the next ayah, what do we ask Him for? We say,
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
guide us on the straight path. Now, guidance only comes from Allah, and He gives it to those He loves. Everything else, houses and money and riches and wealth, He gives to those He loves and those He doesn't love. But Hidayah, guidance, He gives to the one He loves. And He says, we say, guide us on the straight path. We don't say make us guided. It is not a point that we reach. It is a journey. Guide us on the straight path. It is a path that we continuously ask to be guided on. So it is a journey of good deeds and good deeds and good deeds, and a path that we try to work on and work towards. So we continuously ask for this guidance on this straight path.
صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
What path is this? We go and we elaborate. We say the path of those you have blessed or favored, not the ones whose anger is on them, nor the ones who are astray. Now what is this path of the people you have favored or blessed? This answer is found in another ayah in the Quran that says, وَمَن يُطَعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا. So whosoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, he is among the ones who are favored from the prophets and the sincere and the righteous, and those are the best of company. So this is the path that we are asking to be guided on. And the ones, not the ones whose anger is on them, this refers to the people who have the knowledge and information but reject it, nor the ones who are astray or the ones who don't know and are astray. So now we come to the end of Surah Al-Fatiha. We'll go through a quick hadith, which is hadith Qudsi, which means it's hadith in Allah's words, narrated by the Prophet. So Allah says, I have divided Surah Al-Fatiha between me and my servant into two halves, and my servant shall have what he asked for. When the servant says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, all praises to Allah, Lord of the worlds, Allah says, my servant has praised me. When the servant says, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the gracious, the merciful, Allah says, my servant has exalted me. When he says, Maliki Yawmuddin, master of the day of judgment, Allah says, my servant has submitted to me and my servant has glorified me. When he says, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, you alone we worship and you alone we seek help from, Allah says, this is between me and my servant shall have what he asked for. And so what do we ask for? We say, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Guide us on the straight path, the path of those you have favored, not the ones whose anger is on them or the ones astray. And Allah says, this is for my servant, and my servant shall have what he asked for. Imagine this beautiful conversation is happening every time we read Surah Al-Fatiha. Let us try, inshallah, to reflect on this the next time we stand in prayer and read Surah Al-Fatiha, and imagine that it is like we are having a direct conversation with Allah. Alhamdulillah, may Allah guide us all, inshallah, to the straight path. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the video, and inshallah, if you have any suggestions of something you'd like to hear about, please let me know. I really want this to be an inclusive environment, inshallah, and hopefully we can all learn together. Assalamu alaikum.